Hello Kingdom Hearts fans! Today we are going to beat Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without any commands. I was given this challenge in the comments of my Birth by Sleep No Commands challenge video, so check that video out if you want a challenge similar to this. For those of you unaware, using attack and magic commands are the main ways in this game that we use to attack. It is also the main way that we can cure ourselves other than using a save point, so we will have to beat all of the bosses without any way to heal ourselves. The rules for this challenge are very easy. I can't use any commands that would normally be located in this area. That's it. Essentially everything else is allowed. Reality shifts are allowed, flow motion and flow motion attacks are allowed. During drop sequences we can attack and use magic normally, as drop sequences don't count. Dream Eater Link attacks are allowed. Towards the end of the game, this will be incredibly useful since we get invincibility frames doing this. I don't think anyone will have problems with those rules as they fit with the no attack command challenge. However, Dream Drop Distance is not one of the Kingdom Hearts games that I play a lot. What that means is that this challenge was done on a New Game Plus save so that I could carry over my spirits from my prior save. I also did this challenge on beginner for my sanity and as a proof of concept, but depending on how well this video does, I can redo it again on proud if you guys want. Don't worry though, there is a lot of pain in this playthrough, by the challenge itself and by my lack of skill. Lastly, this is a part 1 video. This video will only cover the Sora section of VDD. The Riku part 2 video should be out either next week or in 2 weeks. When I first started this challenge, I only wanted to do this challenge for a single character and I chose Sora. This is because I knew that I would have to grind a lot for the endgame and decided to only do it for one character so I didn't have to grind twice. However, the challenge really isn't complete until I see the credits, so I decided to do a second playthrough with Riku again, specifically for this challenge. So apologies to you guys that wanted the 2 characters in one video. And with that out of the way, we can finally start the mayhem. So first up is the Hoko Monkey in Traverse Town. I'm also going to do something a bit differently in this video compared to most of my other videos. Usually I give some commentary or insights when I do a full game challenge like this. So I'll usually try to tell you guys what I'm thinking or what I'm trying to do in the challenge. But there isn't much to say for Dream Drop Distance. For most of the boss fights, which will be the majority of the video, I'm just being as aggressive as I can be and staying in the boss's face. That's the big strategy. This will work for the boss in Traverse Town, so you should be fine. And this is more of a boss rush video. None of the gameplay segments that aren't bosses are really that difficult or interesting to talk about. Most of my time was spent fighting common Dream Eaters to level up, but they won't cause us any trouble. After you beat the Hoko Monkey in Traverse Town, you can travel to the new worlds. This is important now. At the top right of the screen, when you are about to travel to a new world, you will see a combat level. It is imperative that you fight the final bosses of that world at or above the combat level. Don't even bother fighting the world's boss if you are below the combat level, as you're going to have a bad time. It's not impossible to do it below the recommended level, but you're going to see a lot of the BS in this game if you don't follow my advice. Anyways, next up is the Hunchback world, and if you're following the advice that I just told you, you only need to be at level 8 to fight Wargoyle. This fight isn't too difficult if you're at the right level. The Wargoyle dodged a lot of my attacks at the start of the fight, but you still need to be aggressive when fighting this boss. Just don't give up, as the start of the fight is the hard part of the fight. Eventually the Wargoyle will tire itself out and just fall on the floor. This is when you know that you are close to winning. All you have to do is keep swinging the Keyblade at it and you'll do a lot of damage to the boss. I think Wargoyle has some HP barriers as well, as it'll only take a single Keyblade attack when he gets up for the boss to lie back down. A few of the bosses have these HP barriers that we will be taking advantage of. Overall, not too bad of a fight as long as you take my advice and level up. Same deal with Tron's level. This time, we want to make sure that we are at level 14 before fighting Rinzler. And guys, this may look easy, but a lot of grinding and failed attempts went into this challenge. This here is a typical fight that I would go through with large enemies. Just flow motion up to them and throw them somewhere and repeat for hours until you go up some levels. It's very boring and monotonous, but this is the strategy for the game. Anyways, now it's time to face Rinzler, the final boss for the grid, and it's a bit interesting. He likes to run around and jump out of range of Sora's attacks a lot, but you just need to keep being as aggressive as a one-legged person in a butt-kicking competition, which is very aggressive. I don't really have that good advice here. Obviously, try to not take a lot of damage and hope that when you swing the Keyblade it will actually hit and harm Rinzler. The reason being that around sometime in the fight, he'll change the gravity of the world and make Sora fight on the ceiling. It's not that big a deal, and in my opinion it's actually easier to fight him on the ceiling than the ground, but your controls are a bit messed up. It's at this point that I decided to use my Dream Eaters to help me, and it does harm Rinzler, but due to my bad luck, it won't kill him. Using Dream Eater Link attacks also makes Sora invulnerable to everything, so you can take advantage of this whenever you feel you're about to take a lot of damage. Rinzler will eventually put Sora back on the ground, and you probably will want to end the fight at this point in time. If you're like me, you would have already sustained a lot of damage, and having to fight on the ceiling again will probably mean death. And again, you can use your Dream Eater Link attacks to harm Rinzler, and remember, you can always swap out one of your Dream Eaters with a third Dream Eater. Just do some prep before the fight, so when the third Dream Eater comes, it has a full Link meter. Next up is the Prankster's Paradise. The recommended level for this world is to be level 16. I chose to be at level 18 for the final boss. The main reason we want to be over level is to have a good defense. We still care about our attack stat, but we can win with time with a low attack stat. If we have a low defense stat, we will only be able to take a few hits, which is why I keep talking about leveling up. It's extremely important that Sora can take a hit and not die, because we cannot heal. The Clobster boss fight is both hard and easy. When he isn't moving and he doesn't have his head turned away from us, we are able to hit him and do some real damage. Unfortunately, things never work out when I do my challenge videos. The crab-like creature can fly and has some area of effect attacks which will harm Sora. The crab will even fly into the air and try to damage Sora by just falling on the ground. This attack isn't very lethal, so you don't have to care too much. It just harms Sora a little, so it's just annoying as you can easily avoid its attack by jumping into the air. Though there is a good argument to be made that tanking the damage and getting in an extra hit may be faster. This fight is just long and tedious, honestly. After some period of time, the crab will just fly away and fall in the arena, allowing us to free Monstro. When this happens, you've basically won. You have done the hard part of the boss fight. Literally just run to where Monstro is and use a reality shift to free Monstro. You will then need to pilot Monstro to the end, using your cat-like reflexes and precision to finish this battle. Luckily, all you have to do is get Monstro to touch the boss. Simple as that. I said this at the start of the video and I'm going to say it again here. When I started this challenge, it was only meant to be done as Sora. I had no intention of playing as Riku because I didn't want to grind. And it is at this point that the game halts our progress and forces us to play as Riku. Spoiler alert, you can beat the game without dropping. I was going to try to prove that we didn't have to drop in another video, but I just proved we can't. You must drop to Riku or Sora at least once in order to complete the game. It's not possible to beat Dream Drop Distance without dropping. Anyways, Sora has to return to Traverse Town and the second boss is tough, but only because the boss is a bunch of other bosses that we must beat with a single health bar, meaning we can't heal. Honestly, not that different from the numbered Kingdom Hearts games, as it's not like Donald would heal us to begin with. The first boss in the boss rush we have to fight is Hoko Monkey. There really isn't anything special for this boss. We just need to follow the same advice that I was talking about the first time that we fought him and be as aggressive as Roxas at the Sea Salt ice cream store, which is very aggressive. Also, at this point in the game, for both Sora and Riku, I recommend having the Tron Keyblade equipped since it has the highest strength stat. Use reality shifts and whatever you have in your repertoire to win. After the Hoko Monkey fight, the Spelican boss will summon Wargoyle to fight us. I believe this Wargoyle also has an HP barrier, just like when we fought him in the Hunchback world. Just like he did in the Hunchback world, it will tire itself out after we get him to his HP barrier, and he will fall to the ground to relax for a bit when fighting Sora. And that's really all of the advice that I have for this boss. Eventually you'll beat Wargoyle and have your third and final boss in the boss rush, which is the crab boss from Pinocchio's world that we just beat. There is some good news though. We are incredibly lucky this time since the boss is smaller than his previous self. Because he's smaller, most of your attacks will connect and hit the boss instead of hitting the air, so beating him will just be a matter of time. We are also able to use the metal poles around to do some flow motion attacks on the boss if we want. Overall, he is the easiest of the 3 bosses Sora has to fight. Just make sure that you don't take too much damage during this fight since we can't heal, which is why we grind. Next up is the Three Musketeers world. The Three Musketeers movie is one of my favorite Disney movies that includes Mickey Mouse, Donald, and Goofy. Before we get to the boss fights, please make sure to level up, guys. It's incredibly important that you are not under-leveled. Don't think I said that in the video yet. Our first roadblock is when the Tyranto Rex is chasing us. This isn't too hard if you know what you're doing. Since we can't use our magic or attack commands, there are only 2 ways that we can damage the boss. The first is to guard its fireballs. When he uses his fireball jutsu at Sora, you need to guard it at the right moment so it will reflect and go back to hit the dinosaur. Your timing doesn't have to be super accurate or anything. The worst thing that happens if you miss is the fireballs hit you, but you don't take a lot of damage. The second and primary way we choose to damage the boss occurs when it is charging at Sora. You need to thrust the Keyblade at just the right moment so that the boss runs in front of Sora for us to combo it. You only need him to do this a few times to win. Luckily, we aren't playing on the hardest difficulty, so your health shouldn't get into critical state and the carriage won't be destroyed if you mess up. Next up is the Beagle Boys. This went surprisingly fast and is part of the reason that I keep saying to level up. Our Dream Eater party does do a good amount of damage to each of the Beagle Boys, but we're gonna rely on Sora. But you need to be as aggressive as a fat kid in a buffet because we're going ham on the Beagle Boys, guys. And it's pretty much the same strategy when we have to fight the Beagle Boys again with Pete in the theater. Just be as aggressive as you want with these 3. They still haven't learned how to fight, and Sora is still starving from shutting down the buffet with his insatiable appetite after going ham on them before. All you have to do, once all the Beagle Boys are knocked out, is use your Dimension Shift to launch them in a cannon to hit Pete, so then you can fight Pete. As for the Pete boss fight, he is just as easy as the Beagle Boys. Just be as aggressive as a simp at a modeling show. Stick to Pete like glue and keep hitting on him. Really, that's it. Your Dream Eaters do some damage, and I guess the peg leg that Pete has really hinders his movement because he doesn't run around a lot, so you can keep hitting him until he dies. He will sometimes jump into the background, but that just wastes his time. It's not too difficult to dodge the attacks he uses, and after he has his tantrum, all you need to do to beat this boss is use your reality shift to shoot him back into the set to beat the fight. And as a reward for your hard-earned efforts, your deck capacity will increase, which is such a useless reward for this challenge. Next up is the Fantasia world against our old pal Spelican from Traverse Town, and we are on the last Disney World for the game. The sliding section is just a matter of catching up to him and then using a flow motion attack. Eventually I did manage to catch up to it and do a single flow motion attack, and he finally made us go to the actual arena to fight him. Now the real fight can start. Just like we have been doing for the majority of this playthrough, we will have to be as aggressive as the Disney Corporation and buying all other media production companies, which is very aggressive. Just keep swinging the Keyblade at this boss. Just like Wargoyle, there is an HP barrier for this boss, so when he takes too much damage, he will fall onto the ground and lie down for a bit. During this time, he is still vulnerable to attacks, so you can keep swinging the Keyblade at it to do damage, and hopefully that'll take him to another HP barrier. And don't forget to level up, guys. I think the recommended level to be at is level 36, so get that level at least before doing this fight. It's boring to level up in this game, but totally worth it, as this fight can be very frustrating if you aren't leveled up. When I did the reality shift attack to the boss, I entered the second phase. This part is annoying. What the Spelican does is fly around the area. This just prolongs the fight. Spelican will go to the top of one of the floating rocks and rain down fireballs at Sora. It's easy to avoid these, but obviously we want to end the fight as soon as possible. You can just flow motion yourself to the top of the area and keep attacking. Overall, not a bad fight, just annoying. Not as annoying as the crab from Pinocchio's world, but still annoying. And having beaten Spelican, we are finally able to travel to the world that never was to beat the game. And just as a reminder for you guys, this video will only cover the Sora portion of the campaign, not Riku's campaign. What that means is that Xemnas will be the last boss we fight in this video. Again guys, make sure to level up. I've spent over an hour leveling up just listening to videos on YouTube and was able to beat him at level 55. Remember to use your Dream Eater's attacks, as that is allowed in this challenge. They make Sora invulnerable, and Xemnas has some BS attacks that are tough to guard. Just keep being aggressive in this fight. You need to be as aggressive as EA with microtransactions and keep attacking Xemnas. He will sometimes do an attack and just stand there for a few seconds like he wants us to attack. I don't know why he does this, but it isn't a trick, so you can go in to do damage. When he throws the buildings at Sora, this can be annoying, and you'll probably take most of your damage from the fight from this section if you don't know where to run to avoid the buildings. I usually just ran to one of the sides, but there may be a smarter way to avoid the buildings. The rest of the fight is doable though. Just try to get back to Xemnas as fast as possible when he throws buildings. When you do get back to him, just keep mashing the buttons to do a reality shift. This is exactly what you want. It'll do some damage to Xemnas if we pass the minigame, and most importantly, it will stun Xemnas. And once Xemnas teleports Sora back to the main area to fight, you can follow our strategy of being as aggressive as Activision with microtransactions, which is very aggressive, and staying close to Xemnas and spamming the attack button, and you'll win. So can you beat Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without any commands? Yes, at least for Sora's campaign. Don't worry guys, the Riku video should be the next video I post. I'm sorry if you wanted to see Riku in this video. I decided that I did not want Riku's quote-unquote campaign to be part of this video. This way, I'm able to show more of the boss fights and talk more about each fight for Sora's campaign in its own video, and Riku's campaign will get its own dedicated video. Having two videos also helps with the scripting and rendering process, since I have two shorter videos compared to one long one. I hope that you guys don't mind me splitting a single challenge into two videos. By far, the most important part of this challenge is leveling up. I can't stress that enough. Just like with the Birth by Sleep No Attack Command challenge, the staggering of enemies in this game is atrocious, so you will want to be leveled up to have a strong defense, since you will most likely get hit. This was a lot of fun to do, and for the commenter that requested this months ago, sorry it took me over half a year to get to this challenge. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please consider rating and subscribing if you enjoyed, and leave a comment below telling me what you thought, or if you have another challenge, as I like to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
See you soon.